students tackle this problem in many different ways. They imagine how UCLA can be a more cosmopolitan university built upon the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. They share with fellow students why it is important for UCLA to be a sanctuary for DACA students. They write songs as emotion-laden vehicles for cosmopolitan bonding in opposition to anti-Black or anti-Asian racism. They choreograph their own dances and express their cosmopolitan experiences in both creative and critical ways. In short, cosmopolitans make for better citizens of a country, whether it is the United States or not. This also explains why the UCLA mission statement calls our attention to global citizenship. In the 21st century, the welfare of our local community must align with the betterment of our global society. So I invite you to take courses in the humanities and explore in your own creative and critical ways this cosmopolitan challenge with my inspiring colleagues and our phenomenal TAs. As I've said, cosmopolitanism begins with local action. Whether you're on campus or not, please wear masks and follow other public health guidelines to protect those around you and by extension, strangers who live further away. Since I'm also faculty in residence on the Hill, I want to conclude by saying that the faculty in residence program has intensified its academic and non-academic community building programs for remote learning. So please go to the Westlife website, check out what we have, and connect with us via Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. You'll also find the virtual event calendar there. Thank you so much for your attention. Welcome again to the Humanities Division. I hope to see many of you in my classes and when the right time comes back on campus. In the meantime, please stay healthy and safe, and good luck with your studies.
Thank you, Dr. David Kim. That was very inspiring. And I think we all have a fondness for Black Panther. We're getting applause in the chat, so thank you. A new tradition to our welcome that I really like is inviting an undergraduate speaker to reflect about their time at UCLA and the impact the UCLA Humanities has had on their education. And this year, I'm really excited to introduce, I'm going to spotlight her, Wenqian Gua. Wenqian is a fourth-year student with a double major in applied linguistics. She is an Asian humanities and a minor in digital humanities. So we call her a triple threat here. Wenqian also is aiming to complete the departmental honors program in Asian languages and cultures and has a keen interest in corpus linguistics to explore gender ideologies displayed by Chinese literature in different time periods. I'm very impressed. I'm not sure what that is, so hopefully she tells us. Though she takes primarily humanities and literature courses, her career path is not limited with just these aspects. She integrates her skill set, acquires from both her majors and minors, and successfully has interned in different professional industries, such as management consulting and auditing. And from her speech, we're hoping that you can draw new possibilities of the academic subjects you can study and that students, parents, staff will be inspired. So welcome, Wenqian.
Thank you, Barbara. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this year's Humanities Welcome event. So even though I am the student speaker, it's actually my first time to this welcome event. So I hope you all are staying safe and are hopefully well prepared for this upcoming fantastic college journey. So let me do a brief self-introduction. I am Wenqian, and I'm a fourth-year student double majoring in applied linguistics and Asian humanities, minoring in digital humanities. I am an international from China, but I have lived in the US for 6 years already. That's probably like the global citizenship that Professor Kim just mentioned. I am, as you may see from my sleepy eyes, it's actually 5 a.m. here in China. So I hope that my speech would make sense to you. So I'm kind of a little bit sleepy, but actually very excited to be here to welcome you all. So you may not be that interested in my majors or academic background, but the story that I want to share with all of you today is actually very related to how I chose and used my majors and minor, and more importantly, how my academic journey leads to an unexpected career path, which I hope could be helpful for you to plan out your personalized ways of living and studying for the upcoming 4 years. A lot of you may come to UCLA with a set destination, while some of you may feel kind of lost facing this pile of options. When I came to UCLA, I was unfortunately also the later one. As a very typical East Asian cultural product, I felt that college was just like a normal life stage to me. Take classes, pass exams, graduate, and find a job. So nothing else special. This worked when I did not come to UCLA, but it actually drove me into a deeper slump as I started my first quarter here. I was struggling. Not only did the classes that I randomly chose were incomprehensible, but I had no idea regarding what majors I may be interested in and what can I do with them after I graduate. So it seems like that I had no plan for my future. With this in mind, I took pretty much general education classes during the first 2 quarters and started to narrow down on humanities studies and especially linguistics. So the first suggestion that I want to offer you all is that if you are kind of undecided regarding where you may want to go, UCLA actually has got you covered. So GE classes that you see can cover introductory contents in many different disciplines, and you can easily project how may you enjoy and prefer certain disciplines over others, as well as take a glimpse on certain professional or career applications. That being said, it was through 2 linguistic GE classes, which I took in the first 2 quarters, that I decided to choose linguistics as my major. But apparently, this was not a normal decision among many of my friends, because many people ask me, what are you gonna do for a job after graduation? Do you still plan to continue studying linguistics in grad school? I totally understand your concerns. A lot of people think that if you are a humanities major, you would primarily continue your academic path in grad school and basically saying goodbye to a lot of professional jobs. But I actually gave a very different answer. At the time that I was immersing myself in all these different GE classes, I also approached many other extracurricular resources. So I attended like startup school organizations, went to a lot of different career fairs, visited the career center many times, and started to become interested in a lot of like business related industries such as management consulting. But how would my humanities majors be related to consulting? These two seem to be very far away from each other, right? Don't you have to be like a BCom major to get into those biz related jobs? So what I'm gonna suggest you in the following is not only something that links to my academic interest and passion with my expected career, but also a structure that might be useful to all of you regardless of your future plan. So basically what I did was I made a really big chart and put down all the key transferable skill sets that my job would probably require, such as data analytics and visualization, data processing, critical thinking, professional writing, foreign languages, etc. So after listing down all the skills, I would then see how each course could bring me skills or knowledge that fit into different categories of this chart. So eventually you will see how, regardless of what classes you take, they are all beneficial to you in terms of bringing you universally transferable skill set. For instance, the linguistic class made me more critical think about exceptional relationships and logic between different objects, as well as prompt me to develop my own ways to learn new foreign languages. Also, even the Korean civilization seminar that I took last year could help me observe how East Asian society was always intermingling with Western society and how its influences still leave traces in today's Asian market. So humanities class would limit your career or academic goals in no way, but actually open a new door and prompt innovative insights for your outside regular technical track. So guess what? This summer, during all my interviews, I actually talked intensively about how I revitalized the 3D model about living conditions across social classes in ancient Rome during my digital humanities class, as well as how I used data visualization and processing tools to phonetic analysis. Though you can see like those humanities class activities were not very directly relevant to job positions that I applied, they actually showcased how I acquired and made use of skills that could be transferable to my future job, as well as how I could easily line out skill sets and quick learning ability from classes that are even not directly related to my job. So that's a pretty big achievement, right? So particularly, I got my internship successfully and was glad to see what I learned actually could contribute to my real professional work. So you see, humanities and UCLA Humanities has actually provided you with plenty of options. You don't have to choose, or you don't need to be afraid, as you now own the key to any different kind of success. Don't let your academic interest keep you away from a goal that you are excited about, but may seem to be very irrelevant or far away from your academic journey. So college is not about your GPA, it's not about how much money you would make, not about how your classes would help you directly find a job, but it's more like a process, how you transform into someone that you expect to become, and how you acquire transferable skills during this process. So that's actually all I want to share for today. I am actually not a person very good at speech, so I hope that this makes sense and it was helpful to you. Thank you all, and go Prince.
Yay. Hi, Wenshin. We're getting a lot of thank yous and good jobs. So we were all finding it very helpful. And I'd like to say I didn't even, pay her to say all those good things. She's just a product of our division, and we're so lucky to have her. So thank you, Wenshin. You're getting a million thank yous, as you can see in the chat. So we all are appreciative. I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker. She's an alumni of our program, and her name is Grace Moss. And Grace is the Senior Director of Talent Development and Inclusion for NBC Entertainment. In this role, she oversees multiple programs that focus on discovering, cultivating, and showcasing talented writers and directors of diverse backgrounds. Grace also manages nationwide outreach efforts and develops relationships with community partners such as the National Hispanic Media Coalition of Asian Pacifics in Entertainment, and the East-West Players. Before coming to NBC, Grace was a development executive at the Style Network, where she oversaw new series in production from initial pitch to delivery. And prior to that stint, Grace worked as a producer and director on a plethora of unscripted shows on a variety of networks, including MTV, VH1, TLC, and NBC. So please welcome me in joining. She's going to replace me in the spotlight, and I'm going to unmute her. Are you
Hi. Oh, yes, I unmuted.
Excellent. Thanks, Grace, and welcome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. I'm very much a proud Bruin, so I couldn't turn down this invitation. So thank you all. Let me just get my screen. Can you see everything okay here? Okay. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm a SoCal native and grew up about an hour east of LA in a middle-class suburb called Diamond Bar. I entered UCLA in the fall of 1995 as an English major and Asian American Studies minor. And I'm not gonna lie, a big part of why I decided to study English was the movie Dead Poets Society. For those of you who have never seen the movie, hopefully you all have as humanities folks, but it's a drama set in an elite private school in 1950s Vermont, where a passionate high school teacher inspires his students to pursue their creative dreams. Through this movie, I developed a love of story, and I too fell in love with its power to transform and change lives. So while at UCLA, I had the opportunity to take some pretty epic classes, from a seminar on the Marquis de Sade to Tagalog to a deep dive on the Romantics. I also took part in UCLA's annual Summer Shakespeare program, where English majors could complete their Shakespeare requirement in England. I had dissected multiple Shakespearean plays that summer alone. I turned out nearly 100 pages on the subject. I dreamt in Elizabethan, and his iambic pentameter was my jam. One afternoon, we had a class trip to see his birthplace. And upon seeing my Asian face, our local guide asked if I needed a translator. And I regrettably didn't say anything at the time, but I thought to myself, I'm here through a prestigious American university, choosing to immerse myself in the study of English literature. So no, I don't need a translator. But that was one of the first microaggressions that I can remember. While at UCLA, I was also very active in the Filipino student group Samahang Filipino. And through this org, I took my first steps as an activist, protesting against Proposition 209, the California Civil Rights Initiative, back in '96. That's Wilshire Boulevard right there. I learned what it meant to be disenfranchised and fight for what you believe in, which would later be a theme in my career. As my time in Westwood was coming to a close, though, I did stumble upon the annual entertainment networking night. And I knew I wanted to be a media profession and find a worthwhile platform, but I didn't know where to start. So this event really changed the trajectory of my career. This seemed like the perfect place to figure out what my path would be. And so scrolling through this table guide, there were over 100 tables there. One specific company caught my eye. It was MTV. So for context, it was 1999. Real World was only in its 8th season. TRL was barely a year old, and Britney Spears had just made her VMA debut. MTV was the center of any 20-something's world, and I knew this was the platform that I wanted to be at. So I literally sat at the speaker's table for 3 hours from 6 to 9 p.m., and I listened to his journey over and over, gleaning new insight with each retelling. And after that night, I knew I had a plan, and I followed every step to get myself to MTV. So that fall, I landed an internship in series development. And then 2 months later, I got hired as a production assistant for MTV's newest reality series, Senseless Acts of Video. And that is how my TV career was launched. So this early part of my professional life was not only significant because I learned how television was made, but also because those microaggressions I had first experienced at Stratford were now part of my daily life. I was often one of the few women on staff and consistently the only woman of color. And in one instance, I was excluded from going to set since I was a woman and they thought only the male PAs could handle a lot of the physical work. I was overlooked for promotions by people who were way less experienced than me, and don't even get me started on the pay gap. This was the real world indeed. After a couple years working my way up to producer director, I ultimately left freelance production to pursue a more stable path on the network side. I was honestly a little bit disenchanted with the industry at that point, but wanted to explore a new platform and see how else I could make an impact. So, as I climbed my way up the ranks of the Style Network to development executive, I learned about the broader TV landscape, tracking trends in content, and shepherding pitches to become ongoing series. Here, I became part of the portfolio's internal diversity council, where I could push to hire and cast more underrepresented talent. I was finally in a place where I could affect the inequitable environments that I had once been a part of myself. My time at Style was pivotal because I learned that you can embrace your culture at work rather than hide or work around it. And with that, I became a leader in the Asian American Employee Resource Group, which is all about creating a safe space for API employees and empowering underserved communities. And so with all of this work, I was energized and wanted to fully pursue a career in diversity and inclusion. So in 2013, I landed here. Talent Development and Inclusion at NBC Entertainment. I currently lead the team overseeing the network's efforts to increase diversity. And as Barbara mentioned, our focus is staffing and casting underrepresented talent through our pipeline programs. So I get to utilize my production skills to facilitate events and workshops. I wear my development hat to evaluate and critique creative work from writers and directors. And I create the narrative overall that boosts the support of new talent in our programming. But you may be asking yourself, what does that mean? What are diversity initiatives? I don't get it. So let me give you some context. In the 2018 to 19 broadcast season, a whopping 71% of shows were directed by white directors. So these programs were developed to identify the best emerging filmmakers in the country and give them access to our shows. And that translates to some of these success stories. And I'll say this is just a tiny, tiny sampling of alumni who have come through our program. Sharat Raju shadowed on Law and Order SVU in 2015 through my program. And since then, he was invited to direct the 100th episode of Scandal. And if you watch The Walking Dead, he directed the final episode of fan favorite Michonne. And Hannalee Culpepper was the first female director to launch a new Star Trek series in the franchise's 53-year history. And moving on to writers, in the 2019 to 2020 broadcast season, 65% of TV writers were white. When it comes to the actual content creators, the Late Night Writers Workshop was conceived to service our late night shows, who at the time had gaps in their staffing. Writers on the Verge was conceived when there was a dearth of diverse writers in TV's writers' rooms. And these programs have launched the careers of countless writers who are now developing their own shows across the TV universe. So through my experience in production, development, and diversity, I serve as a bridge for emerging creators from different backgrounds to the TV landscape. My job is to make sure all types of voices are heard and represented. We also bring in consultants to advise on our shows on various topics. And in 2017, an activist from the Sikh community spoke on the invisibility of Sikhs on television. This inspired This Is Us to feature a Sikh character having a tender moment about fatherhood with Randall. And I think this really exemplifies the importance of storytelling and representation. So given the importance of this moment in history, I am blessed to be on the front lines fighting for equity in my own way. My march is no longer on Wilshire Boulevard, but in the boardroom. Those formative years at UCLA really prepared me for the considerable task at hand. Stories are passed down through history, whether it's Canterbury Tales from 14th century or a family drama about three siblings in This Is Us. I learned to understand a story's nuances, confidently communicate with point and effect, and amplify the importance of these unique POVs, but now on the national broadcast level. And so my studies in the humanities have very clearly translated to my work in the humanity of today and our collective fight to be seen and heard. And I've been lucky to be able to have found my way to make a contribution to the world. And I now ask you to, the incoming students, what will your verse be? And so with that, I will close with this clip.
We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. To quote from Whitman, "Oh me, O life of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish, what good amid these, O me, O life?" Answer, that you are here, that life exists and identity, that the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be?
Thanks, Barb. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Grace. That was really powerful. I was getting emotional here.
I love that movie. It's so good.
I know, and you have a wide audience here saying how much they loved it, and a lot of thank yous here. So finally, I would like to introduce our Dean to speak, who I think will, just like me, feel as inspired by all of you. Dean David Scoberg was appointed Dean in July 2012 and the originator of the Humanities Welcome, so thank you for that. As a member of the UCLA faculty since 1996, Dean Scoberg previously served as chair of the Department of Asian Languages and Cultures and as co-director for the Center of Chinese Studies. Please let me add him as a spotlight and welcome David.
Thanks, Barbara. You know, you're quite right. I'm a little verklempt. These are such excellent contributions to the Humanities Welcome. You know, thinking back to the time when we founded this, the beginning idea was basically, here I stand in front of graduating classes each June and say lots of nice things about what they've done during the course of their UCLA degrees and what they've done in the humanities. And I realized that I was really regretting the fact that I wasn't getting a chance to say that to people who are just starting out or who are in the midst of their humanities education at UCLA. Now, a lot of the things that Professor Kim and Wenqian and Grace have said already are really going to come back in what I'm saying now. I really want to focus on the long view and on the way that that humanities study, whether you're doing it in the context of one required course or doing an entire undergraduate major, humanities is really about the long view. I mean, take the campus right now. The campus, I'm sitting here on campus today because of the excellent internet here. The campus is a little empty. It's rather lonely compared to its usual state, especially at this time of year. We would be sitting together in Schoenberg Hall. At the end of the event, we'd walk out onto the patio in front of Schoenberg Hall. Student groups would be represented there. And we'd spend a lot of time talking, getting to know each other there. We'll do that in our breakout rooms later, but I want you to think of that scene on campus. And I want you to think of what the campus does. It brings us together for those kinds of exchanges. Though it may be rather empty right now, a little lonely, a sort of institution without its regular life, one thing that's extremely clear to everyone who's here today is that in other modes, that human activity, the activity that is all directed to bringing the best possible research to bear on the best possible teaching for students in our classrooms, all of that is going on. It's going on in alternate forms. This is what the humanities do. In fact, one way of defining the humanities would be as the stuff that has survived from long ago and that we human beings alive now have an irresistible curiosity about. What did they write? What was the poetry of the 10th century BC in China? In my case, it's something I ask. What were they doing poetically there? What were they doing in Greece? What are the origins of the culture that makes us human in our various places around the world? What can we know about other places and other people and the way they approach the problem of being alive and being conscious? At UCLA, we've built a very strong program in research in the humanities and a very strong program in teaching. We founded many research centers that help us dig very deeply into the history of culture and of religion, of literature, of art, all around the world. If you come to UCLA, you will find your cultural interests represented here. We have probably a broader range of languages on offer here for your study. Numerous departments, numerous interdepartmental programs, all designed to make it possible for you to step through that door, across that bridge, and learn something about the people who are on the other side of a great expanse of space or a great distance of time. I want to say something special about the humanities classroom as well. UCLA is a great teaching institution. We're the #1 public research university in the United States. I think we're in the leading universities when it comes to attention to undergraduate teaching. We're highly aware that our students come from everywhere around the world, and they come from every sort of background with every kind of preparation for the experience that will take place here at UCLA. And we're aware as instructors and faculty in the humanities that our classroom is a very special place. What you're learning in a humanities classroom may include all kinds of concrete and objective knowledge. It may include extremely complicated stuff. But the humanities classroom is always going to be characterized by a special attention to inclusivity. Is every student heard there? Is every student seen? Are the concerns of every student recognized as we proceed in learning together? Is the faculty member pedagogically aware of the needs of students? And is he or she making adjustments to make sure that the teaching that we're doing is really efficient? Are we doing enough to recognize the importance of human cultural artifacts in everyone's life? in the lives of our students, and the ways that talking around human cultural artifacts can actually connect us and can build in us the power of connecting. I think it can be said for the humanities classroom that it is uniquely, almost uniquely, the place where all of the encouragement is to you to develop your own skills in speaking, in writing, expressing yourself boldly and critically, learning how to disagree with people whom you still respect and still get along with, learning how to find and make and claim your own intellectual space, while also participating in communities. In some ways, that's the central problem of our world right now. There's also a fact about humanities instruction, humanities classrooms that I think is extremely valuable to you. Humanities classrooms, more than any other kinds of classrooms, reward and cultivate a propensity to creativity. When you raise your hand in humanities classroom, it's very often not about getting the right answer. It's very often about moving to an answer that opens a new territory of imagination and new creative possibilities. That's something that we attend to. It's probably the most transferable skill of all, learning how to think and create in real time with other people boldly and effectively. So in that sense, the humanities classroom and the campus is a model of the community we're looking for, a place where all of us are heard and all of us get to contribute creatively to suggestions about the betterment of our lives together. I know there are many parents on this call. I'm a parent of 2 college-age children myself, and especially today, we worry about our children's future. We worry about careers. I thought that what Wenxian had to say, what Grace had to say, also what David had to say, really bear on that question. One can approach an education as a specialized matter. One can train oneself in a narrow set of high-powered technical skills. It's a useful approach. One can match that with the broader kind of training that we're talking about today. A training in confidence, a training in speech, a training in expression, in writing in all forms, a training in coming up with and presenting creative ideas that might change the world. These are skills that you train. You may think, I'm taking a course on Russian, or I'm doing a course on early Chinese literature. Every one of those experiences, working with other people, talking about cultural artifacts that matter to you and to them, every one of those experiences training for an effective future life. Barbara, can I have the slides, the next slide there? I want to talk about this a little bit concretely. Yeah, I often share statistics of this kind. Humanities majors prepare you in ways that you might not expect. Humanities graduates tend to end up with skills that people who have trained themselves in other ways may envy. We see here that 84% of humanities majors are satisfied with their choice of major 1 year after college graduation. It's a very good sign, a sign that as people go out into the world, they're satisfied with what they've learned and how it's useful to them. When I talk with employers, founders of companies, I very often hear what's mentioned in this next point. 3 out of 4 employers want new hires with precisely the sorts of skills that the humanities teach: critical thinking, complex problem solving, written and oral communication. It's not an accident that a plurality of humanities undergraduate degree recipients find careers in management. And there's clearly a connection between the kind of thinking one does in the context of humanities and management work, successful management work. And then I would just note this other fact, between 2000 and 2009, I should probably update this a bit, but during those years, the humanities majors scored 9% higher on GMATs than business majors did. And that's borne out in other sorts of tests, MCATs, LSATs. Investing in humanities education turns out still to be an excellent way to gather cultural knowledge, that generalized cultural knowledge and comprehension that will serve you in your career. Besides the career stuff, I think there's something much deeper, and it's something that I want to share with you, whether you're going to do just the required humanities classes or invest in a full degree. Study in the humanities encourages you to take your life into your own hands. Studying the humanities constantly invites you to be intentional in what you're doing with your time on Earth. It asks you to reflect on the choices that other people have made. It asks you to judge others and yourself. It asks you to develop standards that you will hold yourself to. Humanities has always been the place where people come to understand what their lives are about and what they want to make of their lives. It's also the place where we learn how to share our own lives with other people and how to share their lives on their terms. And that's really where we come back to the long view. You know, a commitment to the study of a text or a piece of music or the history of a literature or a tradition in painting or a language. It's a commitment to understanding other people and what they care about. Ultimately, that's also a commitment to understanding yourself in relation to other people. It's a very fundamental thing. It's something one can do whether or not one goes to college, but it's something that one can do singularly powerfully at UCLA, given people who come here and the commitments that all of us who teach here have. So I guess that's where I want to finish. That understanding of people and of yourself in relationship with other people, in relationship with history, in relationship with global phenomena. That is the basis of your unique form of success. Your life isn't made yet, but participating in the humanities in whatever way you might choose at UCLA is going to be part of how you make your life. So I join the other panelists in welcoming you today. I very much hope to meet you, whether by Zoom or soon enough here on campus. And I look forward to questions and comments you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. If we have any more questions, we have a few minutes, but everybody might want to get off Zoom. I'm going to send to all the attendees right here. I'm going to send you the link to our program, and came from me, Barbara Van Ostrin. So the program is where you're going to find the links for the Zoom rooms and for the department open houses. And you can go back and forth between these. Open houses might be lasting anywhere from an hour, a half hour to an hour. Some are lasting 2. Our Zoom interest groups will last about a half hour, and there'll be some trivia, some giveaways, and we have some wonderful staff and faculty joining. There'll be a meet and greet room with Dean David Scoberg. Feel free to join that one. David Kim will be with the continuing students. Grace will be with our career interest group, as she's such an expert. Wen-Shin will be with the dean as well and his meet and greet. So please go back and forth in the rooms, enjoy. You're going to meet other divisional staff. I'll be in the first year student room along with some of my colleagues. So we really appreciate you joining us today. I spotlighted everybody, so we could say a big thank you to everybody. We got lots of thank yous in the chat. The highest, we had about 217 people attending. So thank you all. And yeah, we really enjoy seeing you, and we'll see you in the individual rooms. And I like to wave, right? And be like, thank you, thank you. If you need anything, check out the website. You can find my email as well if you need it. I'll put it in the chat, and I'm available. Okay, thank you all. I just like seeing all the thank yous, so I'm not even ending it yet. I was like, thank you. Oh, you're inspiring to hear the speakers, you were. Okay, I'll send the link one more time as everybody's enjoying that. So many people. Hopefully everybody can see, yeah, the panelists can see the chat, so. Okay, thank you guys. Check out the website, Humanities Welcome on our website if you need anything else. Okay, bye.